Hey, thanks for taking the time to, well, you haven't got any choice, actually. I'm just talking at you, if you like. But I'm here also to present to you why I think it's not a bad idea and not that expensive as well if you become a member. And this is how you can do it, and this is what you can gain. So if we look here at the Talking Tennis sort of home page, if you like, on YouTube, we can see this little button here which says join. It is also pinned in the live chat as well, and you can also, I think, see it just below most of our videos, certainly the live ones and so on. Now, why is it a good idea to join and become a member? Well, in the live chat, you can add little funny things, you can add emojis and all sorts of things, but possibly more importantly, you can get to access some live videos, such as this one here, where we look back on the last sort of few moments from the Billie Jean King Cup. So there are little bonuses such as this one, but there are many, many more. And in fact, if we have a quick look at all of the members only stuff, I repeat, you will see very, very quickly some of the top stuff that we've had for members only over the last 12 months since the channel began. Remember, these videos are for members only. You can become a member from as little as about $2 a month, €2 a month. £2 a month, something like that. There are various different things. Oh, and by the way, you'll also be supporting the channel. So it's a win, 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 win scenario. Let me just show you some of the members only stuff. For example, we've got an exclusive little clip there talking to Laura Siegmund, Laura Tsurenko, her encore interview, some doubles footage there from Monastir, the Germany press conference pre-tournament Billie Jean King Cup, Claire Burrell talking as well to the media in her press conference in Monastir, Storm Hunter and Alicia Parks interview, Rebecca Masarova, her press conference, Coco Gauff, exclusive for members only, albeit it was in Madrid. But these are just some of the things, some of the interviews and etc. Like Lestien here, a chat with him, Emma Navarro, and so on and so forth. So many little bonus videos available for just €2 a month. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member. Or don't. It's okay.
Ready? Play.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. Do you ever think about maybe making adjustments, maybe taking a step back, or is it, you know what, all or nothing all the time?
Yeah, I think you're like years late. I mean, people keep asking me, but you're a couple of years late asking that question.
Sorry, I'm a newbie.
You're a newbie, okay, me too.
Ready? Play.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Summers, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Play.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody in YouTube land, Twitter land, Facebook, maybe Twitch, wherever you are tapping into this stream from. My name is Miles David, and welcome to another live watch along of tennis as we dig into the 2024 Cincinnati Open. We're at the semifinal stage, and we are going to be tuning in and talking tennis. If you've never seen my face before, again, like that little thing below me says, my name is Miles David. I host a podcast called Tuned Into Tennis, where we give you colorful commentary about tennis. And also, I'm a frequent contributor to Talking Tennis, which is being run by my wonderful producer in the background. So hi to the producer and hi to everybody watching this. I definitely appreciate you guys stopping by on the stream. We are going to be watching the action between Jessica Pegula of the United States versus Paula Badosa of Spain. Both of these women are coming into Cincinnati looking for their second title of the summer, as Pegula just came off the heels of a great run in Canada to lift the trophy. And a couple weeks, maybe a week before that, actually, Paula Badosa was the champion in Washington, D.C. So both of these players are in good form. They are going to be battling it out for a spot in the final tomorrow. And they're also going to be battling some weather conditions as well, because prior to them getting on court, the first semifinal, the first women's single semifinal between world number one Iga Swiatek and reigning Australian Open champion Aryna Sabalenka, there were lots of fits and starts for little spurts of rain. So hopefully this match is not full of the same and they're able to get through this match more smoothly, and it is entertaining to us and some good tennis, just like the first semifinal was. So let's strap in and talk about it, guys, as we walk through it. And just to let you know, if you are watching this, coming across this for the first time, please hit the like button so we know that you're enjoying the content. Subscribe so you get more content like this. Share this with your other tennis friends and tennis enthusiasts. And also, while you are watching live, make sure to drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts about this match or anything in general tennis related so we can talk about it, because that makes this fun. It doesn't make it feel like I'm just talking to my screen and talking to people. We have a comment that says Paula is taking it. It's definitely possible. I'm going to look up the head-to-head for this match really quickly. I'm doing the same amount of prep that some of my future broadcast compatriots do, because some of them just go into the booth unprepared. So I feel the same way they do at this moment. Sorry. All right. Pegula and Badosa have faced each other twice on the WTA tour so far, with the former holding a 2-0 head-to-head advantage in Pegula, that is. Where did my stream go? Did I accidentally exit out of the stream that I was able to actually watch the tennis in? I think I did. Bear with me. Wouldn't call it a technical difficulty. I would just call it Miles being Miles. By the way, just to share some information that I did some research on today, if you are ever in a predicament, like a lot of people are that frequent my tennis Twitter spaces or just kind of engage with me on social media, which I'm very, very appreciative of, I have to say that. If you find yourself anywhere in the world, I mean, a lot of people that I interact with are in North America, and Tennis Channel is kind of like the king of tennis broadcasting so far, especially amongst the tours. Outside of the four majors, Tennis Channel is where you're going to get your tennis fix. But if you ever find yourself like, where do I actually get this, especially in a world where we aren't necessarily tethered to cable boxes like we were 10 or 15 years ago, everything is streaming. YouTube TV, which is the live TV streaming portion of the YouTube app that everybody knows, which you're probably listening to me or watching this back on. YouTube TV does have an option for the tennis channel. You have to pay for a add-on service to get tennis channel, which unfortunately is part of the course for being a tennis fan. They want all of our money. But just so you know, don't say that Miles never told you where to find tennis, because if you have a YouTube TV subscription, you can get tennis channel and tennis channel's auxiliary channel, which is T2. So yeah, just the more you know, because that would be helpful if you want to watch the actual match live along with me. So you're not just listening to me, which is wonderful. I appreciate you listening to me, but I actually want you to watch the match as well. So the match is very, very in its early stages. The clouds around the Cincinnati Stadium in Mason, Ohio, it's actually not in Cincinnati. Also something you should know. The clouds are very dark, so both players are kind of looking up and trying to see and get a gauge on what they are going to be playing in for the next hour or two or three. And Pegula is already up a break at breaking Badosa in the first game, and she is now serving her first service game to try to consolidate that break and go up an early 2-love lead in this match. Pegula's also spent roughly 6.5 hours on court in just the last 2 days. Things have been a little bit tricky as far as scheduling in Cincinnati because of the Olympics, and furthermore because of the Canadian tournaments in Montreal and Toronto just last week. Because of the Olympics and giving the players time to get to these cities in North America, all of the finals have been pushed back one day. So we're looking at this Sunday, as we're watching this live, being a semifinal Sunday as opposed to a championship Sunday. So these women are competing for a spot in the final, which will be happening tomorrow, just to give you scope of where we are in the tennis landscape. So Pegula's up 30-15 in this service game, and I'm interested to see kind of where the rubber meets the road in this matchup, because both of them, like I said at the very top, have been playing good tennis, and in their own ways, actually, I would say they've been surprising me personally as a tennis fan with the level that they've showed over the past 3 weeks. More so Badosa, because Badosa has been an unknown quantity since 2022, which is a large time to be an unknown quantity in tennis because things happen so fast. She's been dealing with injury. She's felt like she was more on her way out of tennis than kind of amongst the people that are in the elite game, like in a WTA 1000 semifinal or approaching lifting championships. So her winning a 500 last week or week before that, like she did in DC, and now being in the semis of a 1000 is almost out of nowhere to me. And then Pegula on the flip side, as steady Eddie as she's been over the past couple of years, this specific season has not yielded a lot of good fruit for her because she has had some injury issues. She's suffered some shock losses very early on in majors, not even getting to the quarterfinal stage that she normally gets to very frequently. So these two players coming on strong is a little bit of a surprise to me. Extras Bo, shout out to you for streaming on Twitch. They're saying Paula for the win. So we got some people in here rooting for Paula. I see you guys. Not mad at you. Looks like Paula has pushed Pegula to deuce in her first service game. Pegula does have a game point now to close it out. Let's see if she does. Let me actually, there we go. Make sure I don't lose this stream and can talk to you guys at the same time. There we go. I think it's quite interesting that Badosa has put herself, I wouldn't say in contention. Me personally, I have to preface that because sometimes people think I'm like speaking for the tennis public at large. But this is just my opinion. So just put that as a blanket statement over most things I say today. In my opinion, it is quite interesting that Badosa has gone from a non-factor to, I'm pretty sure, depending on what happens in this match and, you know, sparring some strange injury that may happen, which she is susceptible to. She does get consistent, or has been getting consistent shots in her back, because that's been the major injury issue she's been dealing with. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, what do they call it in tennis? The bettors, for lack of a better term, the people that make the odds in tennis as to who's going to lift the trophy, I wouldn't be surprised if they put her in the top 10 based off of a championship run in DC and a semifinal run in Cincinnati. I wouldn't be surprised if she sneaks up inside the top 10 or is thereabouts. And she's definitely going to sneak in as a seeded player now, because her live ranking is 30 something, like between 30 and 33 is her live ranking. So she's going to be seeded for the US Open, especially considering that former Wimbledon champion Marketa Vondrousova has announced that she's not playing. So that's going to basically bump everybody below her up a seed. So if you didn't know that, by the way, Marketa Vondrousova has said that she's not playing the US Open, and she's been dealing with some injuries of herself. So that's one open slot for Badosa to make sure she's seeded. So that'll be interesting. Pegula was always going to be seeded, but yeah. The winner of this semifinal does make the odds of who is going to win the US Open, or who's more likely to win the US Open, very interesting to me. So that's why I have my eyes on this matchup. Pegula did hold, by the way, to go up 2-love, and she also is up 15-love in Badosa's second service game. Nothing too wild from each of the women, just some steady baseline play. Looks like Badosa is the one that's a little bit more rattled, I guess you could say, especially dealing with the conditions after just seeing her best friend Paula Badosa and Aryna Sabalenka have really publicly shared their good friendship with each other on tour. After seeing her get a good win over world number 1 Iga Swiatek, I'm sure, you know, to some degree that may be pushing her or putting extra pressure on her to kind of meet her friend in the final to some degree. I'm just guesstimating here. So yeah, she's coming out a little shakier out of the two, and Pegula's being the solid player that she is. I don't know if our producer can find this tweet I'm about to mention, but somebody on tennis Twitter, there's always somebody on tennis Twitter that has a way of making me laugh. They said they were referencing another tweet, and the tweet was saying how hard it would be to describe Pegula's game without using the word solid. And I agree, because I feel like that is just at the core of the kind of tennis player Pegula is. Like, she's on her very best day, she's going to make you work for everything. She's really solid on both wings. There's no real like hitch in her ground strokes or serve. Everything kind of goes where it's supposed to, or where she wants it to go. And she's just a tough out. So yeah, solid is a very easy word to use, especially when you're looking at another break point for her to go up a double break in this first set. She has a 40-30 lead on Badosa's serve right now. So I do think, by the way, I feel like I'm talking a lot, which, you know, this is a stream. This I'm supposed to do. If you guys ever want me to expound on something I've said that I kind of just slipped in there, please feel free to put it in the comments. But I do think that part of the reason that Pegula's out to this early start in this match, granted it's early going, is I think part of the reason that she's out to the early start is because this court speed at Cincinnati is almost like any other court speed that the field has played on for the entirety of the season so far. It's slicker, it's more humid out there, especially with the rain. The humidity is definitely in the air for a place like Cincinnati or Cincinnati adjacent. But the court speed is playing into Pegula's very short and quick ground strokes. So she doesn't really have to do that much to kind of take advantage of the speed of the court. So it's just playing into her game style naturally. Whereas Badosa, although she's good on hard courts, i.e. winning DC, which was a little bit slower, but still a moderately quick fast court, she likes a little bit more time on the ball. Clay has been the surface that has been more advantageous for her over the years, and a really gritty, sticky hard court surface like Indian Wells, which is where she saw her biggest title at in 2021. So yeah, I think surface condition wise definitely gives Pegula an edge in this matchup. By the way, those of you who are in the chat, let me know. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback, because that's also been something I've been cognizant of while like kind of watching social media and watching the tennis this week in Cincinnati. There's been conversation about the speed of the court from the players and the fans. Personally, I love an interjection of speed on a tennis court, especially in this specific season where we've had an elongation of the clay season because the Olympics were right back at Roland Garros. It's felt like we've seen point construction really be the point construction, which is not a bad thing, but point construction really be at the forefront of tennis. And I personally like more wham bam, thank you, ma'am tennis. I like players that take risks and get rewarded for those risks when they take big shots, like we saw in Sabalenka in the first semifinal, and like we see with Pegula. Even though she doesn't necessarily take huge cuts at the ball, she has a really sneaky ability to produce pace and use other people's pace, and that leads her to a 3-0 lead in the first set on this quick court. So there's a bunch of different ways that a player can be advantageous on a quick court, and I prefer to see that than to see players work out things on a slow court. That's a very personal preference, but I like to see a fast court and see what happens. That's just kind of when I first discovered tennis, I felt like I was watching more quick court tennis, and as time is going on, they've definitely slowed down things and homogenized the courts between clay, grass, and hard. And I personally like a fast court, especially amongst a sea of slow courts. You know, that's just how I feel. Yeah, Sawarna's agreeing with me. I like fast courts during the U.S. Open swing. We can have slow courts everywhere. Agreed, especially when you factor in the fact that, like, we're in the 8th month of the year. Tennis players play essentially 11 months, maybe sometimes 12 months out of the year. There's really no huge off season. For most athletes in other sports, 8 months is what they play. Then the rest of that time is off season downtime to get ready for another 6 to 8 months of their actual competitive season. After 8 months of doing something, I personally would like a little bit of a break. I would like a court that is advantageous to me putting in a big serve or a big forehand instead of methodically thinking through every single point and playing upwards of 10, 15 shot rallies. That's just me. Some people love that and eat it up for breakfast every day. But I do think as far as players' bodies and physicality is concerned, the longer you go into the season, the quicker those courts should become, because the players have already been around the world and back again playing on 3 surfaces before they even get to the U.S. Open hard court lead-up swing. They've started out on hard courts, went to clay, then went to grass, and now we're back on hard court. So I do think the second time around on hard court should be a little bit quicker, just to make sure we don't have players like passing out or injuring their body. First time here, but love the way you explain things. Reading from Spain. Thank you, Xrisbo. If I'm not pronouncing your username correctly, please like do a breakdown of how to pronounce it. But I do appreciate that. And welcome from Spain, a place I haven't been yet, but is on the bucket list. So thanks for tuning in. I definitely appreciate that. By the way, I was mentioning how Pegula's ground strokes are more useful or more advantageous on this court. They just showed a graphic of the average ground stroke speed, and Pegula's winning on both the forehand and the backhand compared to Badosa. She's averaging a higher mile per hour on the forehand and backhand on these courts in just the first 3 games. So she's utilizing that speed to her advantage as best as she can right now. Shawty with multiple T's and multiple Y's. I have a feeling I know who Shawty is. I just don't know their YouTube username. Shawty, make yourself identifiable. If you know me and I know you, I feel like I do based off of this comment, but they said, I like a fast court, but not when the court color makes it hard to see the ball when watching on TV. That is something that I haven't brought up at all, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the court, the angle of the camera, although sometimes they interject different angles, but the base consistent court camera, whatever, the angle of the camera on the court in Cincinnati is not my favorite, especially during the day. It is during the day right now, but they have a lot of cloud coverage, so it's not like the sun is beaming on it. But on a hot day when there's not overcast clouds, it really is hard to see the ball. Like if you go and watch some highlights of maybe the Zverev versus Ben Shelton match yesterday, or some other matches that happened in the day session, it's really tough to see that ball. And I forgot I was actually watching some highlights. This was a while ago, so you might have to do some digging. But I was doing some research. By the way, Pegula's up a double break now. She's up 4-love. She consolidated both of her breaks, and Badosa's serving now to try to get on the board in this set. But I was watching highlights of Serena Williams versus Jeannie Bouchard. I bet you didn't think Jeannie Bouchard would get a mention in this stream today, but Jeannie Bouchard took on Serena Williams in the 2013 edition of the Cincinnati Open. And if you look at those highlights, that camera angle is perfect for seeing the ball in the middle of the day. I don't know. Oh, Badosa is taking out some frustration on the ball, like her Spanish brethren Carlos Alcaraz did a couple of days ago. She didn't crack her racket, but she did just kind of throw the ball or hit the ball into the backstop. She's quite frustrated. I don't have the audio on to see if she got a not a point penalty at this point. I don't know if she got a warning for ball abuse, but she may have. She put some frustration into that serve because she put an ace down the tee to be up 30-15. But yeah, all of that to say, I went on a tangent. Yeah, I don't love the court angle in Cincinnati as much these days. Go back to how it was in 2013, especially if it's going to be this color in the middle of the day. It's just not a great look. It looks so much better at night because you can see the ball better. And who wants to watch tennis where you can't see the ball? That doesn't make sense. So if I was tournament director, I had a say so and could pull the tournament director aside, I would make sure when we're broadcasting this that we get the most advantageous court angle, because it helps everybody out. Wait. I'm doing some. Oh, hey, FAA. I knew it was you. FAA, I knew it was you. I knew Shawty was you. Nerlin. Hey, Nerlin. Is Nerlin, do Nerlin and Swarna have beef? Do they have like Danielle Collins and Iga Swiatek beef? That's what I'm gathering in the comments. I see a Greg Allensworth shout out. By the way, while this match is currently shaping up to be a dud, like Swarna said, because Pegula, I may be behind in the score a little bit, so you know the score isn't too relevant at the moment because it's Pegula is up 4-love in less than half an hour. But while I see this mention of Greg Allensworth, who is a chair umpire on the ATP and WTA tours, I'm interested to see what you guys' opinions are or were of the kerfuffle he was in just a couple of days ago in the night match between Jack Draper and Felix Auger-Aliassime, because he made himself, well, I shouldn't say made himself, he ended up being a prominent fixture of that match, just as he has been in a couple other matches this season and just a couple weeks ago, really. So if you guys want to spill out your opinions on the double bounce gate in Cincinnati with Jack Draper and Felix Auger-Aliassime featuring chair umpire Greg Allensworth, feel free. Just don't body shame Greg Allensworth, because he may have made a mistake, but we shouldn't body shame him. That's where I draw the line. Shawty, Miles, how'd you know it was me? I didn't say anything crazy. Well, one, I quickly went back to the fact that you were one of the first people to say Paula's taking it, and I know you like Paula Badosa. And I don't know, when I talk to people on Spaces enough, I can kind of tell how they type too. So if we talk often, I can kind of tell how you type as well. Call me psychic, I don't know. Chair umpires are often doubling down on bad calls, Shawty. Matthew says, I don't blame the umpire. It happens at lightning speed. It may have seen it as a double hit in one motion. I I agree with everything except the first part of not blaming the umpire, because he is part to blame in why that situation got so messy. Did it happen at lightning speed? Yes, that's you can't really argue that. But he made his decision far too quickly for my taste for a situation that happened at lightning speed, especially when both players weren't sure of what happened. He made a decision, and unfortunately in tennis we see it all too often. Badosa has a game point. Oh, she missed it. Never mind. I was going to say she had a game point to get on the board here. They make decisions that have implications on these players that they don't go back on far too often. And that was a glaring example of how detrimental that could be, because in my opinion, in most people's opinions, there are people that don't agree, but in my opinion, the wrong decision was made and he stuck with it instead of having the option to slow the moment down like broadcasters can do, commentators have access to, and by way of that, the viewers at home do. We can see what has happened on the court mere minutes after, maybe mere seconds after it's happened in slow-mo, that could help the officiators make great decisions. It's just that they don't have access to that. And that is a major problem in 2024, especially when I'm looking at a chair umpire in 2024 that is looking down at an iPad or a notebook or of something digital, where the same feed that I'm seeing on the Tennis Channel, Sky Sport, ESPN broadcast be slowed down frame by frame for me, who has no stake in the match or in the matter. The chair umpire can't see that. He should be, or he or she or they should be one of the first people to get access to that slow-mo footage, and they don't have it when they have a digital component to be able to see it. I don't understand how we haven't gelled all that together, but hopefully this is a step in the direction of getting that, because if he was able to watch that footage and just say, if you're a fan of NFL football, this has been something that's been happening for years, and I explained this on my tennis Twitter space other night. I'm not even a hardcore football fan. By the way, Badosa was able to hold and go up, get on the board in this first set. When football players in the NFL are centimeters, meters, whatever you want to call it, away from being out of bounds or inbounds on major plays, the umpires can huddle together and watch that moment in slow-mo to see if that foot was inbounds or not. It doesn't take that long. It doesn't really stop things, but it does help you to get accuracy in crucial moments. If Greg Allensworth or any chair umpire for that matter was able to see that footage for 5 minutes max, slow it down like we were all able to see after the fact. I mean, Stefanos Tsitsipas posted this, other coaches on the ATP Tour posted this. If you are able to slow that down and see what happened, he would have made a more informed decision instead of just kind of going off of his gut in a very split-second situation and ultimately being wrong and having to stand on being wrong. And then afterwards telling Felix that, oh, well, maybe I made a mistake. But at that point, the match is done. People have shaken their hands and it's time to go on to the next tournament. So yeah, that's a huge indicator that tennis needs to have video replay for the officials at their hands, because it was just ridiculous how that all unfolded, unfortunately. And now one of the cons of that is Jack Draper being looked at as like less than a proper sportsman, because he didn't speak up on something that looked very evident on camera and something as a professional he kind of sort of possibly should have felt, that the ball bounced on the ground before it touched the top of the net and dribbled over. So I know I've kind of rambled on about that, but that's just, it was kind of unacceptable. Swarna is saying VAR. By the way, Pegula's up 30-15 in this 4-1 game, just to keep us abreast of what's happening. Swarna is saying VAR is expensive, though. I don't know if we can have it for every single match at a 1,000. That's hard for me. It's hard for me to have expense be a issue when, one, this court also has electronic line calling, so that's an expense that they're able to cover. And two, they already have the rights to the video footage. So why can't what we see just be streamed to their iPad or notebook? Like, the broadcasters are showing us frame by frame. Like, they're able to show us slow-mo of players' ground strokes. They can show us slow-mo of what looks like a potential double bounce. Like, slow-mo footage is, because that's basically what VAR is. It's just we're playing something that already happened. That doesn't seem like an expense to me. You already have the footage. Just have it funneled to an area that the chair umpires and officials can rewatch. That doesn't seem like an extra expense to me. I don't see why that hasn't dawned on anybody, because that's literally what it is. You're watching something that is already unfolded and slowing it down to get the most accurate decision as an official. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see it as an extra expense when you're already paying a boatload of money to be able to have the broadcasting rights to this, because you already have the rights. Just make sure the chair umpire can see it. They already have a good picture of the match. They're sitting above everything. But I do get that, like, because tennis is so quick and physical and there's just split things happening, your eye can't keep up with everything at the same time, which is where seeing things in slow motion in critical positions and tough moments would be crucial. But again, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm just a guy that watches tennis on YouTube and talks to you guys about it. Badosa has a break point, by the way, to get one of these breaks back. She has a break point at 4-1 in Pegula's service game, and she takes it. 2-4. Sorry, Swarna, I wasn't trying to yell at you. I mean, I guess I am passionate about this because this isn't the first time we've seen chair umpires mess up in something that they likely would have made a better, more informed decision had they had the video replay footage at their fingertips. So. Our producer said Tennis Channel's coverage is so far behind, they probably haven't got it yet. I think Tennis Channel as a network is actually up for sale. I'm not sure if they are meeting the metrics necessary to stay afloat as a network in the United States. And I think that is in part to their own doing, if you ask me, but Shawty is still of the mindset that Paula Badosa is taking it. If she's going to take it, she has to be on her fight back mode starting now if she wants to take it this first set anyway. She is doing better, though. She's 2 games on the board. Pegula has a hole here to break right back. Badosa's down love 30 in this 2-4 game. Tuned into tennis, talking tennis, conglomerate buyout. I like the word conglomerate. I'm not quite sure. Like, I know how it's used, but I don't think I could. If somebody asked me to like blurt out the definition of conglomerate, I don't think I could do it, but I do know how it's used. And it's a fun word to say. Matthew said, even at the US Open, my understanding is that video replay is only on 8 courts. So I guess expense means it can't be on all courts. Maybe so. And that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you spend the money on something for accuracy, but then not apply it to all of the courts you're going to have tennis on? That would defeat the purpose of said accuracy, no? It wouldn't be accurate across the board then if you're going to have a court that doesn't have access to the things that makes all of this flow functionally and accurately. Am I missing something? Like, that doesn't make sense to me when they're like, prime example, 2020 US Open, the one that we don't really think about except for Dominic Thiem winning and beating Zverev down 2-0. We do appreciate that moment, but by large, that was a very depressing US Open because there was barely anybody in the building. But at that US Open, I think they had automatic line calling on some courts, but on Arthur Ashe, they still were utilizing actual line judges and like the challenge system. And I know they were using line judges because the infamous Djokovic hitting that lineswoman in the throat, that happened because they were still using line judges on Arthur Ashe. It didn't make sense to me how like the outside courts had automatic line calling and no line judges, but the major courts had line judges and like the traditional challenge system. That didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. And now it's kind of reversed. Like now it's like the bigger the court and the bigger the arena is, the more high tech things are. But on the outside courts, they're kind of playing old school. And I don't get like, for tennis to be as inexpensive of a sport it is, for you to go get a Babolat racket, you basically have to have $260 at your disposal. Why are things always buckled down to expense? Furthermore, if we can really get into the weeds of expense, why is expense such a thing to worry about in tennis when we're looking at a Cincinnati tournament right here that is giving the male ATP champions over $1 million? Follow me. The winner of this Cincinnati Open, the men's singles champion, is getting over $1 million. The women's singles champion is not even getting a solid $600,000. So there's money to go around. There's huge pockets of prize money for people. More so on the ATP tour more consistently. And then you tell me like there's not saying you were telling me this, Matthew, but like one of the pushbacks for things to be as fair and equitable and efficient as possible in tennis are expenses. And I'm like, like somebody could buy 100 tennis rackets and probably cover the charge of this. Meanwhile, there's 100 tennis rackets at any given tournament, any given time, because there's players playing this event. So it doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And you have like major sponsors like Kroger, for example, which is a major North American grocery store brand. You have Western and Southern Financial. You have Credit One as huge placards on these tournaments, but expense is still something to worry about. It just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, furthermore, Pegula, who has 3 set points, by the way, at 5-2, is one of 2 players on the WTA tour whose families are like billionaires. So expense really shouldn't be a problem. expense really should not be a problem. Not saying that billionaires, well, I guess I am kind of saying like if your family is literally a billionaire, there's things that you can fix a lot of problems. So yeah, if tennis feels like if there's a hole in tennis for something and expenses are the reason, then we should call Jessica Pegula's family and Emma Navarro's family. We can definitely call Navarro's family because Navarro's dad is either the owner or like a high level executive at Credit One, and Credit One is a major sponsor for this tournament. So yeah, I just don't, the expense thing is just not flying for me anymore. Way too much money floats around at tennis tournaments. You go to Indian Wells and you're sitting on a stadium court eating Nobu. Literally, there's a Nobu restaurant at the Indian Wells second court, I think, the second stadium. You can't tell me that tennis doesn't have the money to cover things. They just don't want to do it. If you can flesh out the finest sushi in the world during a tennis tournament, you can cover VAR. So yeah. And speaking of covering things, Pegula had things mostly covered in this first set. She wins at 6-2, and Badosa is yelling up a storm to her coaching box as Pegula quietly and calmly goes to the change of ends, grabs a water, sits down, and she's up a set. So, yeah. Matthew says, I take your point, but how often is video replay required in matches? It's extremely rare. I don't think the rarity of it should be factored into the necessity of it. I mean, how often do you get in your car and actually you put your seatbelt on, but how often do you actually utilize it bracing you? Hopefully not often, because you're a safe driver and hopefully things aren't happening to you often where you could potentially be plunging through your windshield wiper. That's what the seatbelt is there for, but they encourage you to put it on for drastic measures. The VAR system should be there, regardless of if it's something that's constantly used. It should be there like a seatbelt is in your car. If that makes sense. Like, it's not something that you should always be leaning on, because no one wants to like have to lean on their seatbelt because that's dangerous. It's there to protect you, but you're not literally leaning on it all the time because we're pretty much good drivers. But it should be there. It should be there. So that's how I look at VAR. Mind you, I just made up that. I didn't make that up, but that analogy just came to my head. So just go with it. Hey, Tanisha. Tanisha said they spent money on air-conditioned chairs at Cincy. See? Yeah, there's tennis. Tennis will spend money on what it wants to spend money on. They really will. I mean, now granted, air condition in Mason, Ohio is a necessity. And from what I recently just heard from the tennis players who were in Europe for the long stint plus the Olympics, European air condition is a lot different than American air condition. So air conditions are a necessity, but maybe not so in the seats themselves. I don't know. But the fact that that's an option lets me know that expenses really shouldn't be a factor into whether or not we can use VAR in a tennis match. That's just me. That's just me. I wish more people thought that way, and we might actually not have so many instances where Greg Allensworth is now at the center of more drama. So, speaking of drama, they're showing Badosa really vent out her frustrations during that break between the first and second set. She's really giving it to her box. I don't think I've seen her do this in quite a while, but she's really frustrated at her level. I guess rightfully she should be, because she's played well enough to get to the semifinal and really be a threat to win this title, and she just hasn't really shown up in this match. There's been a lot of quick errors and just, really kind of a sloppy performance so far from Badosa, and Pegula really hasn't had to showcase a really high level to be up a set in this match. Hey, Ghosty. Pegula, your favorite player, by the way, is up a set on Badosa, and Badosa is serving at 15 all in the second set. Actually, let me refresh my feed because I might be a little bit behind, because Tennis Channel does that to me. Nope, I'm as far as I can go in this feed. So I think I missaid that score. Badosa is serving at 15-30, and now Pegula has 2 more break points to really run away with this. Like, if Pegula opens up the second set with a break, I know, it's not over until it's really over, but only winning 2 games in the first set and getting broken at the very first chance in the second set does not set Badosa up too nicely to come back in this match. Sorry, Badosa fans. Doesn't look too bright for our girl Badosa. Maybe she needs a warm chant and hug from her boyfriend, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Who knows? Who thinks, by the way, this is just tangential because this match isn't giving me much point by point fun to go through. Does anybody think it's weird that Stefanos Tsitsipas said that he was not going to continue having his father be his tennis coach, but he is going to continue having his father travel the world with him to tennis matches and tournaments? I thought that was very strange. Kind of defeats the purpose. Not saying that he should cut off his father, because that isn't healthy either, but I don't get why you would say, hey, my father is no longer going to be in the coaching role, but he's gonna travel with me all over. And I think Tsitsipas said in his statement, which is so damn long, he said something like he's going to continue to help him out in tennis with off-court things. I don't know if that means carry his bags and make sure his rackets are strung correctly. I don't know what that means, but it's just as strange that you would tell your father, hey, you can't be my coach, but hey, come along to everything else I do. Like, kind of defeats the purpose, especially if his father's going to still be in the coaching or in the player's box while he finds an actual coach. That's going to be competing energies. And all of this is why Stefanos Tsitsipas doesn't have a major title, by the way, and has only won Monte Carlo 3 times in his career. Is that terrible? No. I think most players, like Diego Schwartzman, would love to have 3 Monte Carlo titles in his back pocket, but Tsitsipas was supposed to be much more accomplished than somebody like Diego Schwartzman. So that's why he doesn't have a bigger title than Monte Carlo, because he can't figure out his coaching situation every time he looks over at his box. So there's that. By the way, Pegula did break in that opening service game of Paula Badosa in the first set, so it doesn't look like Badosa is going to be coming out with the victory in this match, because she is continuing to talk to her box every chance she gets. She's like having a constant conversation with them. Trying to play tennis and keep a dialogue with your box, kind of similar to what Tsitsipas does sometimes, is not a good recipe for winning in tennis. You can't do both. I don't know how you can focus on forehands, backhands, and talk to your box the entire time. It's really weird. Yeah, Sean, I agree. Sean says if his dad had any sense, he'd say, Stefanos, it's time I leave you to live your own life. Yeah, that's also true. Tsitsipas is like, what, 25 now? That's around the time most men and women want to kind of fly their own wings independently of their family. So yeah. Steph's mom has learned to keep her mouth shut, so perhaps his dad will sing into the background during matches as well. I just don't see that happening. If it does happen, it's not going to happen right away, because you can't that doesn't, you don't just, things don't happen and switch that drastically, especially when that is like, that's the reason Tsitsipas has 2 legs to play tennis, is because of his father. Like there's a deeper dynamic there besides just like regular coach and tennis player. Like that's his father. So yeah, he needs to like actually break up with his father, which is crazy that he can't do that at this age, but hey, everybody's different. Shawty, carry his bags is crazy. I mean, he did say he was going to continue doing off-court stuff. So that's, if my dad wanted to travel the world with me but not actually be my coach, he would do something like that. I wouldn't belittle him, but I'd be like, hey, Dad, like, I appreciate you so much for wanting to take care of me while we're on the road. Can you make sure my hotel accommodations are great? Because that would be something that like a personal assistant or like management would do, but your family would take more care. I would assume they would take more care in like kind of logistical things like that than somebody that wasn't as invested, like a family member would. I don't know. That's just my thought process. Yeah, maybe his dad can be his personal assistant. I don't know. And I agree, Paula does need to focus, because she's really shoulder slumped, giving it to her box every time she misses, and it's like it bleeds over into the next point. And for a player like Pegula, who really doesn't give you much when she's playing well, that just plays into her hands really every single time. So yeah. Oh, and Badosa frames a forehand return and advantage Pegula. Not a great day at the office so far for Miss Paula Badosa. Oh, by the way, that thing I was talking about with Cincinnati's court angle and the camera angle not being good is back to rear its ugly head, because the clouds are gone, and now I'm finding myself with my contacts and all having to squint to see this ball in the middle of the points. This is not fun, Cincinnati. This is not fun. It's like, it's 2:17 in Cincinnati right there, which, middle of the day. The clouds are gone, and now I can't see the ball again. I'm squinting. Tennis, why do you make it so hard to watch tennis? Why do you make it so hard, tennis? I can see Pegula in this lovely purple dress clear as day, but I can't see the ball once it leaves her racket. What's going on? It did look like Badosa just hit a really good cross-court backhand winner, though. I had to squint to see it, but I saw it. And they're back at deuce, number 3. Only 49 minutes into this match, by the way. I feel like that's a the last time I called a match was live on YouTube and other streaming sites was Pegula, and I was quite perplexed every time I looked at the match clock because it felt like I was here longer than the match clock actually said I was. This match isn't even an hour old. Nerlin just asks, why do I have to see the ball? I would imagine not being able to see a tennis ball amidst a tennis match would be sort of like not being able to grab your steering wheel while driving. Kind of goes hand in hand, I would imagine. You need one of those things. Yeah. Shawty said, is Petro still playing tennis full-time? I don't know if he's playing tennis full-time, but he did sneak a spot into the Olympics in singles. But I do agree he could be somebody that could carry Tsitsipas's bags. Pegula holds to go up 2-love, by the way. Badosa looks disinterested and frustrated as she has the whole 50-plus minutes of this match. So that's not changing, I don't think, anytime soon, but tennis is wild. Yeah, Flying Yogi, curious what Tsitsipas will do about his team. Who knows? I don't think he knows. I'm not sure where he's going to go. So who's to say? I think Tsitsipas has good factors and like good elements to his game, but putting them all together when it really, really matters is something he's not been able to do. And I don't think it's not lost on me that he's not been able to do that because his coaching situation has been so tumultuous, especially in the past couple of years with his father at the helm of it. So we'll see what happens with him. There was a picture of, I don't know if our producer can find this. I know we're watching women's tennis, but tennis is tennis for the most part. There was a picture of the last 6 Masters 1000s champions on the ATP tour, and it was Carlos, Yannick Sinner, Tsitsipas, Rublev, Zverev. Carlos, Sinner, Tsitsipas, Rublev, Zverev, Popyrin. Only 2 of those 6 are Grand Slam champions, obviously Sinner and Alcaraz. The other 4, 3 of the 4 are like supposed to be in the conversation of next to win a major, and I'm talking about Tsitsipas, Rublev, and Zverev. And I'm not sure if, I'm sure this has been talked about ad nauseum, so forgive me if you're like, oh, we hate this conversation, but I'm not sure if all 3 actually get to that stage in their career. Not quite sure. Not quite sure. Zverev, Tsitsipas, and Rublev all being Grand Slam champions when it's all said and done in 2024 sounds like a stretch. I'd be happy to eat my words if somebody played this for me when they win championship point at a major. I'd be like I was wrong, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen for all 3 of them. Maybe 1, maybe 2, but all 3 seems like a stretch. Maybe. Turkey. Do we have any Turkish tennis players? Hi, Ashley. Thanks for joining in the chat. Somebody said Paula needs to take a bathroom break like Iga does. Yeah, she does because she's facing another break point to go down love 3 in the second set. Was that a? Oh, that was a loose backhand return from Pegula, so she's off the hook there. Oh yeah, last name Sanmez. I think I've seen that name on the WTA tour, and I think Azarenka has played her once and or twice, maybe somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not quite sure. Badosa's also, as I look more closely at this point, Badosa's also not that fleet of foot. Like her split steps seem a little off. Her feet just look a little more stuck to the ground than Pegula's at the moment, which would be indicative of this lopsided score. Let me get the most accurate score I can. Looks like Badosa has worked her way to gain point to stop some of the bleeding. Zenep Zanmez. Oh, she's ranked. I can't. The WTA website really, we need to sit down and talk to them about that, because just in this instance, I can't tell if that 152 means she's ranked 152 in singles or in doubles. It's a little bit ambiguous, but it's good to see a face with a name, and it's good to see representation from Turkey. So that's good. It's insane how great Pegula plays all of a sudden on fast courts. Nerlin, that's a good call, because she did play well, kind of, I wouldn't say as soon as the tour got to grass, but she did pick it up, but evidenced by that title in Berlin. So yeah, I think her game is just more advantageous to a quicker court. If we look at the titles that she has, she's won in Montreal and Toronto. I think both of those are court speeds that she likes. Berlin, obviously. She won Guadalajara in 2022. She won DC back in 2019. That was her first WTA tour title. And I think she won also a 250 in South Korea last year. I don't believe she has a clay court title, and the only clay court run I can think of that she's had was in Madrid when she got to the final and lost to Ons Jabeur. So fast conditions are advantageous for Pegula. I would agree. I think the best tennis comes out of her when the courts are quicker or the conditions are quicker. The ball kind of goes through the air. That gives her an edge. Badosa was able to hold, by the way, so she's still in contention in the second set. Pegula's up 2-1 with a break. Swarna is saying Pegula has yet to face a top 20 player during her Toronto. Oh, during both of those? So she hasn't played a top 20 player in Toronto or Cincinnati? Let's look at that. Let's look at that on our good old trusty website. So in Pegula's Toronto run, she beat Pliskova, Ashlyn Kruger, Peyton Stearns, Diana Schneider, and Anisimova. I'm raising an eyebrow at Schneider only because Schneider was the 14 seed. So if she wasn't top 20 at the time, she was top 20 adjacent. And I think she left Toronto, talking about Diana Schneider. I think she left Toronto either at 20 or inside the top 20. So that was top 20 adjacent. And then so far in Cincinnati, Pegula has beat en route to the semifinals so far Muhova, Townsend, and Fernandez. None of those players are currently in the top 20. So yeah, I see that for sure. But I also do think, though, like, how do I word this? When you have the results and do the work to be a highly ranked player, of course you're not going to play that many other highly ranked players. And you're going to likely face those highly ranked players deep into tournaments, because that's just the way the numbers work out. If you're a number one player in the world, number two, number three, you're always going to, you're more often than not going to play somebody that's really ranked below you, because that's just how the draws work. Like when you're the number one seed of the tournament, you get the seeds that are lower around you, you know? I don't know. But I mean, there is something to be said for like strength of a draw, but ultimately one of the perks of having a high seed or having a high ranking is that you are on paper not supposed to be playing the most dangerous players or the most highly ranked players until later on paper. So I don't always hold it against players when they have, especially higher ranked players. I don't hold it against them that they haven't faced higher opposition, because they are the higher opposition. Like, they are holding that spot. So everybody's going to, most people, not everybody, but most people are going to be below them. So Badosa also has more winners in this match. She has 12-9, 12 winners to Pegula's 9, but I'm pretty sure, it hasn't flashed across my screen. Let me look at the stats really quickly. I would be very confident in saying that she has more unforced errors than Pegula does. This stat breakdown isn't showing me that, I don't think. What I'm looking at right now is just showing the serve and return, just for knowledge. Pegula has 3 aces to Badosa's 4. Badosa has 5 double faults to Pegula's 2. Pegula's first serve percentage is at 61%. Her first serve percentage 1 is 63%. Those are 2 healthy numbers. She's only faced 1 break point and saved it, whereas she's created 10 break points against Badosa's serve and won 6 of them. So that's a really good percentage as well. So yeah, all those signs point to why Pegula is in such a strong position in this match. I wish I could see unforced errors, but I unfortunately can't at the moment. But you know, 'tis what it is. Wait, I'm looking at the chat. Can someone tell me who Raheem Sterling is? Yeah. While somebody's telling me who Raheem Sterling is, Nerlin just said Badosa comes across very unlikable to me. Is this the case for someone else? I'm not sure if Raheem Sterling is a Chelsea footballer. That would explain why I don't know who that is, because I would imagine that is what I would call soccer, and I don't really follow soccer. But as far as Badosa being unlikable, I don't know if I would use that phrase, but she has distinctly put out 2 statements in the media, one in Spanish press and one in press during the DC tournament that she won, that I wasn't a fan of. And those 2 statements happened this summer. It wasn't like a long time ago. In Spanish, she was doing an interview for a Spanish magazine. By the way, Badosa has a break point to even up this match 2-all in a second. Let's see if she gets it. Pegula has a easy mid-court put away forehand and she nets it. So Badosa does break to even us up at 2-all in this match. But yeah, as far as likability, she said something in the Spanish press along the lines of she is completely okay with the disparity in pay between women, the WTA tour and the ATP tour, as evident at this tournament in particular, because like I said earlier, the men's singles champion is bringing home over $1 million and the women's singles champion is bringing home a little over $500,000. That's in US money. That's a significant difference, right? Like, I would not pass up on either one of those checks, but if you're comparing apples to apples, which they're doing in this tournament, the men and the women are playing best of 3 sets on the same court for the same audience and similar tickets. Why is there such a discrepancy on how much the men are getting paid and the women are getting paid? In Grand Slams, I'll lead you to the whole best of 5 debate, but in this instance, it doesn't make sense. She made a statement in Spanish press that said she's okay with it to a certain degree because women are what they generate. And she used the adage about how, like, you know, female models usually get paid more than male models, which her Spaniard compatriot has Rafa Nadal has said something. I don't agree with that, because I also don't think men are getting necessarily what they generate either. So that's odd to me. Didn't really agree with her on that. and then she made a statement in reference to a question about women playing best of 5 sets at tournaments during DC, and she basically, I'm paraphrasing here, so don't take what I'm saying as what Badosa said verbatim, but she said that women have female issues that men don't have that would make them more susceptible to not enjoying best of 5 sets, and it shouldn't just, it basically is something that they shouldn't explore because women deal with menstruation, which that's a fact, they do. And I couldn't imagine dealing with that and also having to play tennis, but I don't think that's why women don't play best of 5 sets. I don't think that's why they don't, and I don't think that is the reason that like the powers that be that make women play best of 3 sets in majors, I don't think they're bringing that to the table as like, oh yeah, that's why women shouldn't be playing best of 5 sets. So for her to use that excuse that doesn't steam all the way over for me. So okay, again, these are just my opinions. Badosa has a chance to get her first lead of this match, by the way. She has a game point to go up 3-2. She puts in a second serve against Pegula's backhand. Pegula scrambling to keep it back in court, and she draws an error off of Badosa's forehand. We're back at deuce. Shawty, you are trolling me in the comments. Shawty said, when is Sorribes Tormo going to live up to her full potential? Question mark, question mark. I would imagine she would live up to her potential when she figures out how to not keep her non-serving arm up as long as she does in a serve. When she figures out how to like time that better, we may see her live up to her full potential. Personally, I think she's already lived up to it. She has two WTA Tour titles, both of which are on hard courts, by the way. And when you watch her play, it doesn't scream hard court specialist, but that's where her 2 WTA Tour titles are on. So by my book, she's overachieved. And Badosa is overachieving in this match, just in the micro perspective, because she's up 3-2. Didn't see that coming even 15 minutes ago. We're an hour and 5 minutes into this match, and Badosa is having her first lead up 3-2. So Badosa fans unite. Yes, Warner, that was such a wrong statement by Badosa. Yeah, I don't think that was her finest moment. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, just as I am entitled to my opinion about your opinion. I didn't really care for it. Just saying. Sorry, guys. Just checking the messages. What is Sorribes' full potential? I think does Sorribes have a round of 16? Why are we, Shawty? Why did you get us talking about Sorribes Tormo? I'm going to give you some leeway and say that Sorribes Tormo is Badosa's compatriot, but I did not expect to talk about Sorribes Tormo today. I think she has a round of 16 at a major. Maybe. Yeah, I think she does, and I think she got that round of 16 at a major when Rybakina gave her a walkover in Roland Garros last year. I think that was a 3rd round match that they were supposed to play, and Badosa pulled out Rybakina pulled out because of an illness, and that gave Sorribes Tormo her first round of 16 or second week of a major. That's full potential to me. I think so. Pegula's levels just dipped a bit. She just opened up this service game at 2-3 with a double fault. That's not great if she's that's not great if you're a Pegula fan that really wants to get this match closed out in 2. And this is also reminiscent a little bit because I watched her match. She just hits a cross-court forehand winner, though. It barely nicked the inside of the line. This is kind of reminiscent if her level continues to waver a little bit. this is reminiscent of what she did in that Toronto final against Anisimova. Anisimova was the one kind of living and dying by the sword, kind of littering up the stat sheet in that first set. And when Anisimova's game started to kind of click into gear and the shot started to land and she started to pick up the pace, Pegula didn't really elevate with her. So I would imagine Pegula wants to kind of rectify that because Badosa is keeping more balls in play. She's had a lead for the first time in this match, and if Pegula wants to find herself in the final, she needs to elevate as well because Badosa's elevating just that bit more. Yeah, Badosa's putting a little bit more shape on her shot to keep the ball in play. She's still not fleet of foot, which I don't think that's just not a super strong dynamic part of her game. And Pegula just exposed it on that point, getting her moving from corner to corner, which she can do very well. So. Does Pegula have some of the most technically sound ground strokes you guys think on tour? I think she does. I don't think when her game goes awry, I don't think it's because like there's a technical flaw in her ground strokes like there is in Coco Gauff's forehand, for example. I can't think of a woman that has a flaw on her backhand. Oh, Ash Barty. She's not on tour anymore, but Ash Barty did have like some technical flaws in her backhand. She didn't really bend her wrist or like flex her wrist as much as she could have. And that was a shot that she would purposely avoid if tight, or she would go under and slice it. Pegula doesn't have that issue. She's pretty solid on both wings. So when things go wrong for her, it's typical of either her level dropping because of like a mental dip or players taking advantage of the fact that her ball is so consistent. Granted, she doesn't hit a powder puff ball, but she does hit a very consistent ball. And I think that is a double-edged sword if you're playing somebody who hits big and can inject pace the way Badosa can, Sabalenka, or Rybakina. If you give them enough repetition of the same kind of ball and ground stroke speed, eventually you're going to catch up to that and you're going to find your groove. That's the really tricky line you have to like walk when you're a player that is kind of dependent on other people's pace and plays so solidly. Like playing solidly is obviously a great game plan to win, but if you're solid to the point where you're giving your opponent like the same ball repetitiously, almost like metronomically, am I going to use that word? Like a metronome? You're almost kind of becoming a ball machine for them, and you're kind of getting them in their groove. You know, that's what I see from certain players. You know who also does that? I think Taylor Fritz does that. Taylor Fritz does that when he's like in a advantageous position, and it looks like the player just doesn't really have much hope at all. Little do you know, if you kind of hang in there, you start realizing that, oh, this person's giving me the same ball over and over off both wings, and you get comfortable. And before you know it, you start opening up your shoulders a lot more because you know what to expect. So yeah, that's why Badosa is just held now to go up 4-3. It's not lost on me. Pegula does give you she takes away time in her own right because she takes the ball early, but she also gives it to you because there's not much variation on her ground stroke production. Like Iga Swiatek, her forehand and backhand are like two different rotations, almost like somebody like Cam Norrie. He has such RPMs on his forehand, but then a really, really flat backhand. That doesn't give you much ability to kind of get a groove. Pegula gives you very linear shots on both sides. So if you stick in there long enough, you might find your groove. And it seems like Paula Badosa has done that because she's up 4-3. Not calling a complete comeback here, but I do understand why Badosa's kind of finding a groove. So there's that. Nerlin says she has the best ground stroke on WTA and the best baseline game, arguably the best returner. I think that's fair. Yeah. But then I'm not pushing back. But then, like, when you say best, is it best in terms of consistency? Is it best in terms of pace? Is it best in terms of technical fluidity? I would say technical fluidity and like consistency, she's pretty good. But pace and opening up points on ground strokes wouldn't necessarily put her at the top. I would put somebody like a Sabalenka or Rybakina or even Paula Badosa, players that can like interject pace from one singular ground stroke the way that they can. I would prefer to have that weapon over somebody that hits the same shot over and over again. There's advantages to hitting the same shot over and over again, but if I had to pick one, I guess it's a personal preference, I would pick a player that has a weapon that can just open up their shoulders, swing big, and have the outright power to make a rally go how they want it to go. They're taking a break right now because of weather. Badosa just sat and covered her shoulders with the towel as the ball boy covered her head with an umbrella. And Pegula is doing something similar. So I guess they're taking a second to see if this shower, as there have been a multitude of them in Cincinnati, kind of passes. The fans aren't going anywhere, so I get the impression that it's going to be a passing shower. Knock on wood. My desk is wood. You guys can't see it, but hopefully it's a passing shower and we're able to get back into the tennis pretty quickly. I finally broke the barrier, Sabalenka on Swiatek in Cincinnati. Yeah, for those of you who watched that match or even found some highlights of that match very quickly, Sabalenka bossed Swiatek around in that first semifinal for the most part. She won 6-3, 6-3. She was up 6-3, 5-1, Sabalenka was, and it took her 10 match points to get the job done. So she did kind of stumble and stutter at the finish line. But for the most part, she bullied Swiatek through that match. And I think it was in part because of how quick those courts were playing and just how much better her game has gotten over the past couple of weeks. Like if you watched her play today and you watched her first couple of matches in Washington, D.C., which was her first matches of the summer, there's a big difference there. She looked rusty in D.C. and in this match against Swiatek, take away the like stuttering and fumbling at when it was time to close the match, she was sharp and solid and on it as far as from the ground. So I think she would say that she's kind of rounding into form ahead of the US Open, which she's one, defending points at, and two, has a pretty decent shot to go far. Because I think if the courts are going to be playing in New York like they're playing in Cincinnati or similar, she's going to be hard to keep up with. Let me turn on my Tennis Channel commentary really quickly because Badosa is still talking to her camp. And there's still no live tennis happening from what I can see because of the delay in rain. I think if my producer is listening, we are going to take a quick break while the weather in Cincinnati figures out what it's going to do. And we will be right back. Don't you guys go too far because this match is not over and I am not done yapping my mouth. So, producer, take it away while we take a short break.
You've been to the French Open final. Your breakthrough, at least standout result at the beginning of your career, was on grass against Venus. You've been very solid on the hard courts. Is there a slam in particular that you go, I think that's, if I'm going to get one, the first one might come here, there, or where?
Well, I don't know. I mean, everyone, I'm like, I think this is the first one, so I don't know. I mean, obviously now going to the French, I do have a lot of confidence on the surface, but I'm not really thinking about that. I feel like, in the past I was, and it gave me some, like, defeats that I feel like I shouldn't have lost, maybe more so my head. So going in now, I mean, I feel like, everyone could be the one, but I think I have to just take it a match at a time and just feel it out and enjoy it. I think when you focus too much on the destination, you don't enjoy the journey there. So now I want to focus more on the journey, and if the destination gets there, that's great.